What is up, guys? This is QM from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm bringing all of you guys actually another version of Madolche. This time it's actually going to be a version of Madolche that I really haven't experimented with all that much before, and that is actually going to be TG Madolche today. Now, in my previous Madolche video, the Psychic Madolche video that I posted, I want to say 3 weeks or so ago, 4 weeks maybe, it was a while ago. The Psychic Madolche profile that I did post up a couple of weeks back, you guys did show quite a lot of support for the deck. You guys showed that you guys very much did enjoy the list, but one kind of recurring comment that was coming around on that video was that you guys didn't indeed enjoy the list of the old Psychic Madolche profile, but you guys did express that it was too damn expensive. Now, I will give you guys kind of a background story if you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about. In my old Madolche profile, I did use things like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, as well as, of course, the emergency teleports, both of which are fairly expensive nowadays, especially Ghost Ogre being at around, I want to say $60 right now, I think. So, because of that, it just really got me thinking, like, is there a way that I can essentially make the same functioning deck, but at the same time keep it a little bit more cost efficient? And after thinking about it a little bit, I decided to actually go back and make TG Madolche because of the fact that it is fairly cheaper than the second Madolche build, which I think is the better build in my opinion. But again, this deck functionally works pretty much the same with just a few minor caveats, but again, it's also a lot more cheaper because of the fact that you're not using E-Tellies and Ghost Ogres, you're not using TG cards as well as Rotas. So, just because of that, the price is cut down fairly significantly in this build of Madolche. I will say that this is more or less a kind of budgety version of Madolche because this card did get reprinted, but even though there are still a few money cards in here that are fairly generic, so again, that might make the price of this technical deck a little bit more than usual. Specifically, this card right here is kind of expensive, so FYI, this is a more budgety friendly version of Madolche, but it isn't too cheap, I guess you could say. So again, I've been talking for quite a bit now. I just realized it's going on 2 minutes. So enough of that. Let's get right into this profile of this new Madolche version, whatever that V word, whatever V word I was looking for. Okay, so we're gonna go with the Madolche lineup. It's the standard one that I've been running in pretty much every single one of my videos. So it's gonna be 3 Angeli, 3 Mageline. If I could put it down properly, oh lord. 3 Hukink, 2 Mifue, and then of course 2 Messengelato. I haven't really ever changed this Madolche lineup. It's been the one that works the best for me. Really, I feel like the ratios are sound in every single one of the Madolche monsters, and really, I wouldn't change any of these ratios ever. Moving on to the engine that we do run, which again, like I said, is the TG engine. We have one copy of TG Warwolf and one copy of TG Striker, accompanied by 2 copies of Spell Striker. Now, essentially, these guys will be acting like the Psychics would act in the old other version of Madolche. As TG Striker is our level 2 tuner of the deck, he will be getting us into all of our synchros, as he is the only tuner in this deck. Now, the thing is, with this variant of the deck, I want to say that this card is basically inferior in every way to things like Emergency Teleport because of the fact that your opponent has to essentially have a monster on the board to get this guy to be a free summon. Because of that, you essentially have to go second. That essentially means that you cannot make your Nat Beast lock first turn, while if you were to play Emergency Teleport, you can just, of course, activate E-Telly straight away with your Angeli to, again, combo into your Nat Beast. But the simple fact that this guy is basically 1 turn slower than Emergency Teleport makes this deck, again, functionally the same, but in practice, again, a little bit slower because, again, you have to wait for your opponent to get that 1 free monster on board so that, this card can be free. So, again, it can produce the same types of synchros as the Psychic variant, but this deck, again, like I said, is practically 1 turn slower than Psychic Madolche. The Warwolf and the Spellstrikers are, of course, here for combo piece level 3s, as again, there are easy ways to just get free level 3s onto board. So, these guys aren't, I guess you could say slower, it's just the actual tuner aspect of our deck is, again, slower than normal. So, again, that is going to be our TG lineup for this deck. Finally, for the last two monsters, I again do run two Max C. I felt that Max C was a little bit better than Upstart nowadays, just because this, while it also gets you advantage if your opponent does decide to go off, you usually at least can 1-for-1 Max C whenever your opponent would special summon one monster, as well as it can stop plays for you, which is something that Upstart cannot provide. So I felt Max C was actually a little bit better than Upstart for this deck. So that'll be it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we start off with the Madolche spells, which is of course the one copy of Chateau and the one ticket. Again, like I've said many times before, I feel like having multiples of either one can lead to you drawing them a little bit too early and making your hands a little bit more slow. So of course we did skimp by making one copy of each spell because again, they are both fairly easily searchable, so we don't really need multiple copies of either. Moving on, we have our 3 copies of Reinforcement of the Army. Now, our targets for this is going to be the TG Striker, the 2 Spell Strikers, and the Messengelato. Now, of course, these are going to be your combo cards that you can pair with Angeli, because, of course, you can Rhoda for Spell Striker, Special Summon Spell Striker by banishing the Rhoda, and then summoning Angeli, and you basically have the combo right there. Now, again, this is kind of like your E-Telly equivalent in this specific version of Madolche. So, of course, we have 3 of it because it can help us with our consistency and get us into our combo plays. Another cool thing is that this can actually, again, search out Messengelato. And because of that, if we ever do have Mufue in our opening hand with no other accompanying Madolches, i.e. like Angeli or Hoot Cake, we can, again, Rhoda for the Messengelato. So, again, we can still get our free +1s with the Mufue Messengelato combo. So, we do have the 3 Rhoda. And then, of course, we have the 1 copy of Book, the 1 copy of Raigeki, and then, of course, also the 1 copy of Institution because Noden is indeed a card. So that will round up our spell lineup. Now, we actually do run a fairly heavy trap build in this deck because I felt that this deck needed a little bit more protection than normal Madolche variants that I am used to running. So I am running a real trap lineup, I guess you could say. We're going to start off with the 1 copy of Fallujah because, again, because we are running traps, we can't afford to run this 1 copy of Fallujah because of the fact that we will habitually be drawing into multiple traps, so having this as another back row isn't too awful. And again, if you see this mid to late game, this card can really just blow your opponent out by getting you free Madolches from your hand. I have made boards of just, I think, double TR Misu, 1 Levier, and like an Excalibur, I want to say, with just this card, so that's pretty cool. So of course we have the 1 Palooza for those big going off plays. Then we have 3 copies of Fiendish Chain and 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill. I do not run Veiler in this deck. I have opted to go for Breakthrough over Veiler in this deck, specifically, again, because Necros of Unicorn is a very big thorn in your side. So I really felt that Breakthrough was better than Veiler because this is a lot better against Unicorn than Veiler is. So I have, again, opted to run Breakthrough over Veiler in this deck. And then, of course, we have the Fiendish Chains in here because this deck does lack a good bit of defense. So we do have the Fiendish Chain in here for that effect negation, as well as that, of course, that defense like I was talking about. So that will be our, I guess you could say, trap negating cards things. You know what I mean, those kind of cards. Then moving on, we have the 2 copies of Mirror Force because, again, like I said, with Fiendish Chain, this deck doesn't have a lot of defense, so we have to have Mirror Force in here to help us maintain our board presence, as there will be times when our opponent does make a fairly big board and we have to have ways to get around it that TR Misu might not necessarily be able to get around. So we do have the Mirror Force to help us get around those cards. And of course, finally, we have the very strong one-ofs of the 1 Bottomless, the 1 Torrential, the 1 Emptiness, the 1 Warning, and then the 1 Ring of Destruction, all because they're just really good traps to round off our main deck. Moving on to the extra, we have, of course, our 2 copies of Madolche Queen TR Misu because she is the bomb. She is probably, again, like I said many times before, like, for real, you guys should probably know this already. This is my favorite for XZs in the whole game because she's so pretty and she's so good, of course, because she has non-targeting bounce back to deck removal, which is really cool. So of course we have the 2 TR Misu for our generic combo plays and to be our just generic boss monster. Then we also actually run the 1 copy of Madolche Pudding Says Chocolate a la mode. Now, this card is in here in this extra deck specifically not for the effect, but for the fact that we can overlay this over our TR Misu, and underneath Madolche Chateau, this card goes up to 3,000. That is fairly relevant due to the fact that you don't have to force Excalibur plays against Clyfort, because usually against that matchup you actually would have an extremely hard time, because first of all, this card cannot get rid of any Tribute Summon Clyfort monster, as well as underneath Chateau this only hits 2,700, and of course because of that you cannot get over any of their Tribute Summon monsters outside of maybe the Carrier or the Helix. With Pudding Says a la mode though, you can actually get a 3,000 stick without committing to Excalibur, and because of that, you can, again, just stick over the Clyfort Stealth, the Clyfort Discs, and I guess, the Clayfort Cephalopods if they do summon it, if they're playing Clayfort Towers Turbo. But yeah, we do have the Pudding Sis in here because, again, it just helps us not have to commit to Excalibur plays when we don't have to. Again, to just beat over those big Tribute Summon Clayfort monsters. Moving on, we have the other combo piece rank 3s in the form of the Levier and the Invoker again, because you need these rank 3s in order to combo into your rank 4s and your Chakla a la mode. So, of course, we have to have the 2 and the 1 because, well, again, they're combo pieces. We need to have them in this extra deck. Moving on to just generic rank 4s, we have the 1 Dweller, the 1 E-Knight, the 1 Gagaga Cowboy, and like I said, we have the 1 Excalibur to get around Apocryphal Towers. So that will be it for the Xyz monsters. Moving on to the Synchros, we of course have the 1 Trishula, the 1 Barkion, and the 1 Beast, which is what our TG Striker is for in this whole deck. Of course, just having the Neteria monsters to help us lock down any specific deck, like any back row deck or any spell-heavy deck, is really, really nice. And of course, if we have TG Striker plus Angeli, we can make Trishula, and of course, we all know how good Trishula is nowadays. So of course, we have these guys for our Synchros. And then for our fusion monsters, for our instant fusions, we have the 1 copy of Nodin, and the 1 copy of Fusionist. Now, Nodin is self-explanatory for Instant Fusion because if you ever do run Instant Fusion in a deck that innately runs Instant Fusion, you should be running Nodin now because, again, Nodin is just so good. And although this card will rarely be coming up, we do have the Fusionist in here because there will be times when Nodin cannot actually grab you a level 3 from Grave, which is actually probably going to be the most optimal play, as if you go for something like Nodin Hoot Cake, that is really, really a strong play. But there are times, like if you open the 1 copy of Instant Fusion plus an Angeli, you cannot actually go into your combo because of the fact that Nodin won't have anything in Grave to grab. So because of that, it will come up every so often where you actually just need a straight level 3 instead of Nodin. So we do still have the Fusionist in that in here for the fact that there are times again that we actually will need the level 3 instead of Nodin. So that will be it for the extra deck, and of course I have to show off the Yusei token before I forget. Always gotta show off the Yusei token because I think it's just so nice because I like 5Ds and hey, Yusei token which I want, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, guys, that will be the end of my TG Madolche deck profile. I hope you all did enjoy this deck. Again, I did make this deck in the premise that I did want to try and make a more budgety Madolche deck for this format. Again, because of the fact that Italy is so damn expensive, as well as Ghost Ogre. So again, because Angeli did also get reprinted, this deck can be fairly cheap. Again, minus things like I showed before. Minus things like maybe the Exiton and maybe the Trish. This deck should be fairly cheap. So hey, if you want to look into maybe a sort of budgety, strong rogue deck, I would highly recommend trying this deck out because, again, it's still very much fun. It is, again, like I said, functionally just as good as Psychic Madolche because of the boards that you can still produce with this deck. But again, it is slightly weaker than Psychic Madolche because of that fact that you cannot really go off first turn. But again, I digress. This deck is still very fun, and I still very much love this deck to pieces. And again, expect to see this deck more or less on this channel quite often. So again, I hope you all did very much enjoy this TG Madolche deck profile. As always, this is going to be Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace out.